But what I've got for you right now, here in studio, is SMU Mustangs. And what does SMU have? They have equestrian sports. If you didn't know, I'm sure you've watched football, you've watched basketball, you watch baseball, but do you watch horses? And with that, right here in studio with me, I've got the SMU Mustang Equestrians with their coach, Carol Gwin, along with Vivian Yowan and Holly Lansidel, right here in studio with me to talk to you guys about SMU Mustangs and what the horses do.
Great.
It's not just pony up, it's pony riding. So I don't know where you want to start. Carol, do you want to start as the head coach and kind of tell us a little bit about the program?
Certainly. Thanks, Pepper. Our program is considered an emerging sport with the NCAA. So we offer scholarships to student athletes. We have a team that is comprised of about 38 girls, I believe, this year. We try to stay right around the 40 number. They're the top student athletes in the sport of equestrian in both Western disciplines and hunter seat disciplines.
Okay, and let's go to Vivian. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do there at SMU?
We compete. We have two sides of horse showing. So we bring in the English and Western, and we bring them together, which is pretty cool because most of us haven't seen that other side. And so throughout the weeks we practice, we work out just like we would, in normal competition. And then we have meets where basically it's a head-to-head competition. You draw a horse randomly, and you only have very limited time to get to know that horse. And then you ride against the other team, and then they calculate the points in total, which is pretty cool because we calculate it together with English and Western as a whole team.
Okay, and as far as you ride in?
I ride hunt seat, so I do over fences and flat.
Okay, all right. And Holly?
I ride Western, and I do reining.
And reining? Okay.
Reining, yeah.
All right. And Carol, as far as a coach, what is your background in the equestrian sports as far as being a coach?
I graduated from college and took a job teaching riding at a small school in Virginia. Then I ran my own business for 14 years, boarding, lessoning, teaching a variety of different levels of riders, and then started as an assistant coach at the University of South Carolina 10 years ago, and now I've been at SMU for 5 years.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does fly. I know. We also have two other coaches for the team. We have Coach Mckenzie Lance, who coaches our Western team. She's our associate head coach. And then we have Coach Amber Henner, who is our hunter seat coach.
Okay.
I just make sure everybody stays organized.
All right. And Vivian, what was it about the jumping that got you to jumping? Did you just ride jumping? Do you other ride disciplines or?
No, so I only do hunter jumpers. My parents rode when they were younger, so I started when I was 3 years old, and that was pretty much all I've ever done.
And as far as doing the jumping, because I like to watch that. I've never done it. I'm always afraid I'm gonna fall off, but I like to watch. And so, what is about that as far as doing the jumping? Is there any special training you do or riding you do as far as training to do the jumps?
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of what goes into jumping is not just jumping the jumps. A lot of it is, getting that connection with your horse and working with your horse just on the ground and flat work and all of, the things that go into to make a partnership with a horse. And I think that's the biggest part in jumping. It's not just, making it over the fences.
Do you have a particular horse that's your favorite?
At SMU?
Yes.
For jumping, it would probably be Dylan.
What's the story on him?
It's a funny story. I actually showed him back in the day before I even came to college. And then he got donated to SMU, and he has a very long resume of success. So he's a pretty talented horse.
Okay. All right. And Holly, what about you? What got you started in doing the reining and want to be a reiner?
My mom did it when she was a kid, and she was really into horses, and so I basically just grew up around her doing it. And I've never done anything but reining, so I literally started riding when I was just a kid and showing when I was 6, and I've just been doing it ever since. So.
What about your favorite horse out at SMU?
My favorite's Stewie. Yeah. Yeah.
What's so special about him?
He's really cute, first of all, and he has a good personality. And I feel like I really get along with him the best out of all the horses, and we just kind of we're friends, pals.
And what's it like as far as being on a team, an equestrian team at a college that, when people think of college, nobody thinks of horses. Every now and then somebody, of course, being in Texas, you may think of a rodeo team here or there, but as far as the equestrian teams, nobody really thinks of that. They want to, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. So what is it like being on a team, in the horse sports?
It's amazing. It's been a really incredible experience to be able to come into college and have a team and have friends that you've made, and you also get to do a sport that you've done your whole life that you absolutely love, and you get to get your education at the same time. So it's just been really great.
And what's it like, with the team? Y'all travel around different colleges to compete, and what's that like, the camaraderie amongst the team as far as going and competing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when we all come into college, we're not used to riding on a team, so it's basically like having 36 other girls that you can turn to for anything. And when you're walking in the ring, you have those girls that are supporting you, and equestrian is always known as such an individual sport. So I think through all of this, we've made very strong connections with all of the girls on the team, and no matter what, they're there for you.
Now, what about injuries? Because if you ride a horse long enough, you're going to fall off.
Yeah.
So has there been any crazy injuries or anything like that that's happened to y'all so far?
Not since I've been in college, no.
No, not to me either.
Fortunately not.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So you want to keep that. That's a record you want to keep good.
Yeah.
So.
But we do, since we are an athletic team, we do have a great support staff with the athletics department. So not only do they have an academic advisor, but they also have an athletic trainer and a strength and conditioning coach. So they have all of that backup. So we actually have our athletic trainer at the facility when we are practicing. These girls get iced, they get treated as well as our horse athletes. So.
Okay. And what about the horses? How do they get from traveling around place to place as far as their care? How's that managed?
Well, fortunately, what we do is when people come to us, they ride our horses. When we compete against a away team, we ride their horses. So you can imagine an away meet is a pretty challenging event when you have 4 minutes to get on and warm up and figure out the horse.
Now, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So when you go to another college, you're at the mercy of the horses they give you.
Correct. It's a random draw. It's a random draw and random pairing of who you're matched up against. But yeah, exactly. So you might go some places and ride really nice horses, and you might go some places and ride difficult horses, and you just never really know what you're going to end up with.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting perspective on it as far as that. So when you get to the places, do they tell you, hey, this horse does this horse does that, or are you just pretty much blind?
I would tell you get to watch the opposing team ride the horse in front of you, so you have a general sense. We get a brief description, but I find it, it's like 2 sentences, so there isn't that much you can get out of that. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But watching the horses warm up a little bit and kind of getting to know them, with their regular riders on them, and then that gives our girls a place to jump off from and figure out,
Okay. And that's interesting for those that don't know how that works. It's not like for me. I'm not familiar with that. I see on the internet all the time. I see I've seen the pictures that y'all post and other teams post at different events and things, but I didn't know the complexity of how that worked, because I come from rodeo background and not knowing the equestrian aspect of how it works. So when you go to school, how does that work? When you show up to another school to compete, what happens?
Well, we pretty much get there, and when the meet starts, like, the horses start warming up, and we'll stand there. Most of the time it's just with us and those other girls that are competing. And we'll watch the horses go around. We wait for a draw, so once we know the draw, that's when we really can pay attention, and we really only focus on the one horse that we're going to compete
Okay.
on.
So when you get there to the meet, that team is riding the horses that you're going to ride?
correct, but it's not the people that are actually going to be competing that day. It's
Okay.
additional team members that are warming up the horses.
Okay.
There is a rule that you can't ride within 12 hours of the competition.
Okay.
So they can't get on early in the morning and ride them.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's an interesting aspect of
Yeah.
that, because I didn't know anything about that. So that's pretty. Now, where's a place that you went to compete that you thought, man, there's some good horses right here?
I would say probably, some of the bigger SEC schools like University of Georgia, Auburn, Texas A&M. Even I would say Oklahoma State has some nice horses.
Okay.
South Carolina.
Okay. And while you're in college, what are you studying? What's your major? What are you studying right now?
I'm a business major.
Studying business.
Mhm.
Holly?
I'm health promotion management.
Okay. And once you get out of school, do you plan to continue to compete in equestrian events?
Yeah, I think so. Probably not as much as I'm riding now, but we have some horses back home. Me and my mom do. And they're coming up to be shown. So.
And when you say back home, how far is that?
Seattle.
That's a long way.
So far away.
And what about you, Vivian? Where's back home for you?
I'm from Connecticut, so.
That's okay. Everybody's far away.
Northeast.
What is it that drew all of you to Texas?
Well, for me, it was a job, but I think with the girls, that they can answer for themselves. But we have kids from all over the country. We see hundreds and hundreds of videos, recruiting student athletes, for the positions that we have each year. So it's pretty competitive.
Okay.
These guys are some of the best of the best.
And for you, Vivian, what
I think
brought you
the-
to SMU?
I think the biggest thing was that SMU had the best balance between academics and athletics. So while I know I was on a very competitive athletic team, I also knew that I was getting one of the best educations that I possibly could have.
Okay. What about you, Holly?
Same thing.
Same?
And this is like horse country for
Oh,
riding.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, you're in the right spot.
yeah.
You just run to Auburn and you'll get lost in raining horses. Okay. Well, you got anything else you want to add as far as upcoming events you got going on, or anybody out there watching that's looking and seeing you guys and thinking, man, that's a great deal. I want to get involved in equestrian sports, maybe looking to SMU. What would you tell those people?
I think you can look at each school's website and kind of see which schools are offering equestrian. Equestrian can be offered just as a club sport, or it can be offered as a sport through the athletics department. And so you have to kind of figure out whether it's a bit of a job to be a student athlete. You're representing your school. You're representing your school both academically, athletically, competing. It's a big time commitment. And so I think you have to decide that, this is what you want to do, and that you want to do it for 4 years and meet a great group of girls and go out and yell and cheer and, have a really good time.
Sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Carol, Holly, Vivian, I appreciate y'all coming in and
Thank
visiting
you.
with us and letting the folks out there in the world, and we're worldwide, so let the folks in the world know what's going on at SMU, and we'll keep an eye out on your competitions, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.